Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Reddit Edit, where I edit somebody's Reddit question. Now, somebody was asking on Reddit, basically they've drawn two circles on this person, they've tracked it to the hip and the shoulder, and they want a line to follow along and also kind of be part of the circle. So, well, let's do that. I'm going to grab this footage that I grabbed off Pexels or something like that. And we're going to go into Fusion. This is going to be super easy, super quick. We've got our media. I'm going to grab a background. I'm going to make that red, for example. We're going to grab an ellipse. We're going to add a tracker. We are going to add a tracker. Now, the tracker defaults to IntelliTrack because I've got Studio. But in this case, I'm going to use a point tracker instead because I kind of prefer it for this. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to track his shoulder like this, and we're going to start tracking forward and backwards. Oh, but I forgot to do something. So you noticed because the shape of the shoulder changes, it went crazy. So to fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that. No, okay, I can't delete that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our keyframes for that tracker. Here, I'm going to right-click, scale to fit. Thank you. I'm going to grab these keyframes, and I'm going to get rid of them. And we're going to do that over again. Let's get a do-over. So we're back here. The problem that we're having is that the shape changes, because as the arm goes down, like suddenly, the arm part goes out over here, and it gets all confused. So what I'm going to tell it is, no. Every frame, take a look at what you're seeing, and then try to track that. I'm going to also move it a little bit. There you go. And that should give us a more solid track. Yeah, much better. So every frame, it's saying, what do I have under my tracker? Okay, next frame, I want to get something that's close to that. Next frame, close to that. So that should keep us give us a pretty solid track, compared to what we were getting earlier, where it was jumping all over the place because the shape that we were tracking was changing enormously between, different moments. There you go. And look at that shape. Much, much better. No weird jumps. Looks like nice smooth arches. Great. So we've got that. I'm going to grab my ellipse, bring it into my background, and then I'm going to put that into tracker. Under tracker, operations, match move. The ellipse is too big, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to reduce its size. I'm kind of lazy. Oh, actually, I'm just going to grab it from the side here. And we're going to resize it until it's about the size I want it. Problem is, I want to track the shoulder, not the hip here. So let's see what that does, though. So you see, it is following the shoulder, but it's off to the side. That's a bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the tracker, and under trackers, under the point tracker, I've got an X and Y offset. So let's bring this over here. Let's bring that over there. Let's try to get that as close as we can to the same center. That looks like it's pretty much in the center. Excellent. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. That's looking good to me. Excellent. Now, we're going to do the same thing to the hip. So I'm going to add a tracker. Boom. I'm going to take this background, bring it over here. I don't need to create another ellipse. I don't need to create another background. I can split it off here. We're going to grab that tracker. We're going to add a point. We're going to remove the IntelliTracker. We're going to say adaptive mode every frame. We're going to grab this, and we're going to track this pocket. Let's get in close. We're going to track this pocket. Let's start tracking. I could have used, I could have gone away with not adapting every frame, because the shape of the pocket really doesn't shift as much as the arm did. But, yeah, whatever. Whatever works. Okay, perfect. If I zoom in, again, no weird jumps, no weird skips, no hard angles. So that looks like a really good track. I'm going to go back to my tracker, operations, match move. And this one's kind of close, but not exactly at the right spot. So we are going to go back to our tracker, and we're just going to offset that a bit. Boom. And now, if we take a look, those two spots look pretty good to me. Right? That looks really good. I'm just going to make those circles maybe a little bit smaller by grabbing one, grabbing the corner here, and just bring it down a little bit. Kind of like that. Perfect. Next, we want a line. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to grab that background, copy, and I'm going to paste it as an instance. Main reason is if I decide I want this to be green now, or yellow, because they're linked, all their properties are linked. So I changed this one, and it also changed that one. Makes things a bit easier to keep consistent. So we got that. Next thing we want is we want a polygon. I'm going to put that polygon into the mask, bring this in, and we see nothing because we don't have a shape yet. So I'm going to go from here to here. And you'll notice it's very rough. I'm going to increase the width of the line so we actually have a line. Bring this in here with a merge so we can actually see it. So now if I go back to my polygon and I give it a line, there we go, maybe a bit less. Perfect. Now if I play it though, the line stays right there. What we want is this point to follow that circle and this point to follow that circle. Easy peasy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to our polygon, and I'm going to click here on modify only so that I don't accidentally create new points on this polygon shape. And we're going to select the whole line, so we got the 2 points selected. And we're going to come over here to publish. And under publish, I'm going to publish those points. And now we've got point 0 and point 1 with an XY. So we've got the center position of that point and the center position of this point. And if I grab, for example, this one, you'll notice point 1, the X and Y changes. What? So what we're going to do now is we're going to use that and tell it to be the same center as the tracker. So if I go and I say, I'm going to grab my tracker 1, I'm going to pin it so that these properties always stay, even when I've got my polygon selected. With my polygon, I'm going to go to polygon point 0. I'm going to say, you're equal to, and then I'm going to pick whip with this, the tracker center. And look, it's already snapped to the center. Now, let's do the same thing to point number 2. And I'm going to cheat here a bit. I could do the same thing, pick whip, but since I know that this is called tracker 2, and it's point number 2, so tracker 2, tracked center 2 is what it's going to be. So I can just go over here and say copy is equal to paste and just change the reference. And look at that, it's right in the center. So now if I take a look, the line will follow the center of those 2 points. That is pretty cool. A couple of things though. If I want to apply something to all of these? Well, right now they're being laid on top of the background. And then, so we are getting the background, it's adding a circle. On the background with a circle, it's adding another circle. On the background with a circle and another circle, it's adding a line. So if I added a glow here, because I wanted to glow the two circles in the line, I'd end up glowing the image, right? Like here, let's do it. Glow. Boom. The whole image glows. That's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect this, disconnect that. We're going to connect the background, and then we're going to merge all of that using a merge, which means that we can add something here in between. The problem is you'll notice that everything's disappeared because the tracker here is expecting something to come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a background image. I'm going to slip it in here, and then I'll make that background image transparent. Perfect. And now if I add the glow here, only the line and circles are glowing. What? That is awesome. Okay. So we got that. And if you've never played around with Fusion and all of this is not making much sense to you, I've got another video that kind of explains that Fusion trees are basically factories. You've got your canvas, your basic image coming in, and we're putting stuff on top. What are we putting stuff on top? Well, we're putting something that's glowing. What's glowing? Well, it's a line on top of a blank background with two circles. So we've got two circles going onto a line being drawn on two circles. We're making them all glow, and we're putting them on top of our original video, and we're sending that out to the edit tab. If you take a look through my archives, you'll see some videos explaining this in concept and showing some examples of how that actually works. But like I said, because I've moved this all separate, now I could put a glow on these things, while earlier I was making even the image glow, right? That makes sense. But go and take a look at those other videos if this is confusing to you or if you've never touched Fusion, because I'm skipping over quite a few concepts that somebody who's had a bit of experience will already know. Now, one of the problems that we're having, now let's get rid of this glow. One of the problems we're having is these aren't, they're circles, but they're not rings. And in the original, they were rings, right? Over here, they're rings. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to cut out of here, we're going to cut out some circles. So I'm going to grab an ellipse, and I'm going to merge it. I'm going to bring it into the I'm going to go over here. I'm going to merge it into the mask input of the merge. So this shape, you'll see, it's a huge circle, and it's saying you're only allowed to exist where I am. So the two rings and the line, the two circles and the line are only allowed to exist within this larger circle. It's not exactly what we want to do. I want to do the opposite. So I'm going to come to my merge, settings, and I'm going to apply this inverted. Now it's saying you're only allowed to exist outside of this circle. Next step is we're going to come over here and we're going to say your center is equal to tracker 1 center. And now it's saying I want to cut out everything that's inside here. This thing's a bit too big, so we're going to reduce its size until we cut out a little bit of a ring. Now, the centers aren't perfectly aligned because I moved them around with the offset. So if I go back over here, actually, and I move this around just a little bit. That's better. There you go. The offsets were a little bit off, so the circle wasn't a correct circle. And now I'm going to do the same thing with another ellipse. So I'm going to copy this one because I want the size and all that. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to say tracker 2. And look at that. And now if I go back to my tracker 2, I should be able to align it so that it makes a bit more sense. Kind of eyeballing it a little bit. And we're done. And this, what it's doing is it's cutting, it's basically saying the line and the two circles are not allowed to exist inside of here and here. So it's cutting out the line that actually goes all the way up here. Like if I do this, you see it should be drawing the line right up to here. It's cutting that out, and it's cutting out the center of this circle, giving us a ring. And now if we take a look at that, what does that look like? That is exactly what we were looking for. And we could have expanded this further. We could have added another point here and another point here and tracked the feet and the knee and had a line that would bend at 4 different pivots. It's the exact same process, so I'm not going to bother doing it. But that's the whole thing, really. Took a couple of minutes. How long did it take, including all the recording and babbling? Took 17 minutes to make as a tutorial. It would take a whole lot less time if you didn't have to explain every step and take it relatively slow, right? So let's go back to our thing here and let's take a look and see what that looks like. That's what it looks like. Perfectly tracked. The length of the line is always going to be this distance between the center of these two things. We've cut out the center so we don't see the start of the line and the end of the line inside the circle. And it was super easy. I haven't been around in a while. I've been busy with client projects. Hopefully I'll start doing more of these again. If you enjoyed this, give it a like and, subscribe and all that jazz. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.